August 24th, 79 AD. In less than a single day, ordinary life in Pompeii was shattered forever, not by rivers of lava, but by a sudden invisible force, hotter than metal forging fires. For centuries, plaster casts preserved victims' final moments, but it took modern CT scans to reveal what really killed them, instantly and brutally. What was missed for generations, and what does this hidden evidence mean for us today? Just after midday, a column of ash and gas shot out of Vesuvius, rising 33 kilometers into the sky, higher than most commercial jets ever fly. For hours, white-hot pumice and ash rained down, piling up to nearly 3 meters thick. Roofs groaned and collapsed under the weight. Streets filled with choking dust. The air grew heavy, dark, and hard to breathe. But the real danger was still building above. As night fell, the eruption's force changed. The towering column lost its strength and collapsed, sending pyroclastic surges, waves of superheated gas, ash and rock, racing down the volcano's slopes. These surges moved at speeds of nearly 200 miles per hour, faster than any horse or chariot could outrun. The first surges struck with temperature between 180 and 260 degrees Celsius. By dawn, later waves reached up to 400 degrees, hot enough to melt lead, far beyond what any human body could withstand. The city was overtaken in moments. Houses, temples, and entire neighborhoods vanished behind a wall of heat and ash. The surges didn't just bury Pompeii, they scoured it clean, knocking down walls and vaporizing everything in their path. The force was so intense that wooden doors and furniture combusted instantly, and the air itself became lethal. Most imagine volcanoes as rivers of lava, but Pompeii never saw a drop. Instead, it was this invisible, ground-hugging firestorm that did the killing. The heat alone could kill in less than a second. For those caught in the open, there was no time to run, no shelter strong enough to protect them. Even inside stone buildings, the temperature spike was fatal. By the time the eruption ended, Pompeii was buried beneath layers of ash and pumice. The city was frozen in time, but the violence of those final hours left marks that would only be understood centuries later. The full story of what happened to its people, how they died, and how their bodies endured remained locked beneath the ash, waiting for science to catch up. Beneath the layers of ash and pumice, the city of Pompeii disappeared from view, but the bodies left behind did not simply vanish. As the days and weeks passed, the thick volcanic ash, sometimes more than 10 centimeters deep around each victim, settled like a shroud. The intense heat from the surges had already stripped away life in seconds. Now the fine ash began a slower work, sealing the city in a tomb of minerals and dust. As bodies decayed, the soft tissue melted away, leaving hollow spaces in the hardened ash. These voids, shaped by the final moments of each victim, held the outlines of limbs, faces, and even folds of clothing. For nearly 18 centuries, these empty molds waited in silence, untouched and unseen beneath the surface. In the 1860s, archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli changed everything. During excavations, he noticed that the ground sometimes gave way to strange, empty cavities. He realized these were the negative spaces left by decomposed bodies. Fiorelli's solution was both simple and revolutionary. He poured liquid plaster into the voids, letting it harden before carefully chipping away the ash. What emerged were hauntingly lifelike plaster figures, men, women, and children, caught at the instant of death, their hands raised, their faces twisted, their bodies curled on the ground. Over the decades, this method produced more than 1,000 plaster casts across Pompeii and nearby sites. Each cast preserved not just the shape of a body, but the small details of jewelry, sandals, and even the wrinkles in a tunic. The process was painstaking, but it offered a rare window into a vanished world. One cast, often called the woman in the garden, shows a figure lying on her side, knees drawn up, arm shielding her face. There is no name, none of the casts can be matched to a specific person, but the humanity is unmistakable. Through Fiorelli's technique, the last moments of Pompeii's people became visible for the first time. These plaster forms are more than relics. They are physical evidence preserved by catastrophe that modern science can now investigate. The same plaster that captured their final agony also protected the fragile bones within, setting the stage for new discoveries. Today, CT scanners can peer inside these casts without breaking them open, searching for the truth about how and how quickly these people died. CT scanning has changed what can be known about the people of Pompeii. For the first time, scientists could look inside the plaster casts without destroying them, separating ancient bone from modern plaster with precision. Dr. Estelle Laser led a team using hospital-grade scanners, slicing through the dense shells to reveal what was left of the victims, sometimes just fragments, sometimes nearly complete skeletons, always sealed in their final pose. Over 80 casts from various sites were scanned, with the most detailed images coming from the Garden of the Fugitives in Pordenone. The scans showed that the bones inside had been exposed to temperatures as high as 350 degrees Celsius. In some cases, the skulls had pulled away from the plaster by as much as 5 millimeters. A gap created as brain tissue vaporized and internal pressure forced the bone outward. Teeth, too, bore the scars of heat. Enamel had fractured and roots showed signs of sudden, violent expansion. These were not injuries caused by slow suffocation or the weight of ash, but by a thermal shock, so intense that it left no time for pain. One cast, known to researchers as Marcus, revealed a skull so distorted by heat that the bone had collapsed inward. Dr. Laser described how the CT scan captured the moment of death. Muscles contracted, hands clenched, jaws locked, all in less than a second. The evidence was clear. Most victims died instantly, not from choking on ash, but from a blast of heat that boiled blood and shattered bone. The old theory of slow, agonizing suffocation was swept aside by this forensic proof. Each scan became a time capsule, recording the violence of that morning in microscopic detail. Not everyone in Pompeii died in the first wave. CT scans and stratigraphic studies have identified a smaller group who survived the initial blast only to be overtaken by later surges. These victims were found in upper ash layers, sometimes inside buildings where they had taken shelter. The evidence points to a slower, suffocating end. Fine ash mixed with toxic gases formed a cement-like sludge inside their lungs. Even without the searing heat of the earlier surges, breathing became impossible. Their final moments were marked by violent coughing, collapsed bodies, and an eerie stillness preserved in the hardened ash. The story doesn't end in the ancient world. In 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington state. Pyroclastic flows there reach temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius and speeds over 100 miles per hour. 57 people died, some found with lungs full of ash, echoing the fate of Pompeii's later victims. Despite modern warnings and evacuation plans, the power and speed of these surges left little chance for escape. Today, over 3 million people live within reach of Vesuvius. Naples and its surrounding towns sit in the shadow of a volcano that still stirs with seismic activity. Evacuation models show that even with the best technology, a major eruption could outpace any warning system. The lessons from Pompeii are not just about the past, they are a warning for the present. The brutal deaths revealed by CT scans are a call to vigilance for every city built near the world's active volcanoes. In the silent casts and ash-filled lungs of Pompeii's victims, science finds a message. The risks remain, and the clock is always ticking. Today, over 800 million people live near active volcanoes. As technology uncovers the true violence of ancient eruptions, one fact remains. Nature's power can still overwhelm us in moments. The lessons from Pompeii are not ancient history. They're a warning written in ash. Stay curious, stay prepared.